I'm your host, Annie Bowles, and this is News du Jour. Hey, you guys, and welcome back to the News du Jour. Happy Tuesday. So I hope everyone's week got off to a great start yesterday, and we are going to go ahead and jump into the episode today because we not only have Ukraine updates for you guys, but we have more updates further on down the line that we need to get into. So let's go ahead and jump in. So first up, Maruple Gets crazier. So a Greek diplomat just now left Maruple, and the way he talks about the situation there honestly gives me chills. He said, quote, "What I saw, I hope no one will ever see." And, quote, "Maruple will be part of a list of cities that were completely destroyed by war. I don't need to name them. They're Guernica, Coventry, Aleppo, Grozny, Leningrad. This terror will be remembered for centuries to come." End quote. And believe it or not, things have actually gotten worse. After the theater being bombed with Russians knowing there were children inside, I honestly wasn't sure it could get worse than that. And yet it has. First off, Russians were demanding that the city of Maruple surrender their forces, and the city refused. They are still fighting back. And as a result, Russian forces have begun forcibly deporting people and then forcing the Ukrainian men to fight on the Russian behalf. There's still hundreds of thousands of people trapped in this city with no way out and no way to contact the outside world. People with friends or loved ones in this city have no idea if they are alive, dead, or okay at this point. The Russians also bombed a shopping center in Kyiv, killing many civilians. They are still in the process of evacuating bodies from the rubble there. Russian forces are also held an apartment building hostage for a period of time, and a lot of it was caught on video via security cameras as well as cell phones. Fortunately, those hostages were able to escape safely. And next up, is a global food shortage forthcoming? So as we talked about in the week leading up to the war, Russia and Ukraine are actually responsible for a huge portion of the world's wheat supply, but they also supply a ton of corn and barley as well. All of this is backed up due to the war. On top of this is increasing prices of fuel to transport the goods and supply chain delays due to fires, floods, and droughts. The world is really headed towards a hunger crisis in this moment. In this globalized world, what happens in one area can really have grave consequences for other areas. As one expert put it, it's, quote, catastrophe on top of catastrophe. Stay tuned here. And next up, our last story to do with Ukraine for today, hypersonic missiles. So Ukraine has been suffering at the hands of Russia in so many ways. But one of the new weapons that Russian forces have unleashed onto Ukraine has been something called a hypersonic missile. The Russians are calling them daggers, but it's the same thing. They used these weapons to destroy an ammunition warehouse in Ukraine near the Romanian border, or so they claim. Putin has described these as quote unquote an ideal weapon, but Ukraine has actually found a number of them unexploded after being dropped from the sky. Online, a hypersonic missile is defined as a missile or projectile that travels between 5 and 25 times the speed of sound, aka about 1 to 5 miles per second. Weapons moving at these speeds are also posing challenges to the systems that Ukraine is using to detect incoming fire. Putin seems especially pleased to be showing off these new weapons, as the US does not have hypersonic missiles as of yet. So he will likely continue to use these novel weapons against the Ukrainian people. And next up for today, a Chinese plane crash. So in the southern region of China, a Boeing 737 airplane crashed into dense forest mountains. The plane was carrying approximately 132 people, 123 passengers, and 9 crew members. As of now, we are very unclear as to whether or not there are any survivors, but firefighters and rescuers are rushing to the scene to evaluate the crash. They've set up command posts and assembled tents due to incoming rains in the area. Locals have shown up to volunteer, carrying in water and food for the rescue teams and investigators. Let's hope that some people manage to survive the crash. Stay tuned. And for our last story today, I wanted to touch on Ketanji Brown Jackson's confirmation hearings for the Supreme Court. So Ketanji Brown Jackson is definitely facing some pushback from Republicans in her hearings, largely from one senator by the name of Senator Hawley. You see, on Monday, Hawley gave an opening statement saying that he was concerned Judge Jackson had been too lenient in the past on child sex offenders. He stated, quote, "Some have asked why did I raise these questions ahead of the hearing and not wait until the hearing and spring them on Judge Jackson, as it were. And my answer to that is very simple. I'm not interested in trapping Judge Jackson. I'm not trying to play gotcha. I'm interested in her answers because I found in our time together that she was enormously thoughtful, enormously accomplished, and I suspect she has a coherent view and an explanation and a way of thinking that I look forward to hearing." End quote. But many experts think that Hawley's claims are super off base. Even though he appears to be bringing these concerns very respectfully, which is great for Capitol Hill dialogue, they have been largely debunked already. Former federal prosecutor Andrew McCarthy is actually known to be extremely conservative, but he has come to Judge Jackson's defense here, saying that these claims were meritless, and he even wrote an entire article to that effect, backing up his argument with facts about Judge Jackson's track record. Obviously, this narrative taps into the baseless QAnon conspiracy theories that try to argue Democrats are running a secret child sex ring. So it taps into those fears and narratives. Let's hope that they can get to the bottom of these claims, whether they're true or not. Numbers-wise, she is still expected to be confirmed, but what will happen between now and then, I'm not so sure. Stay tuned and hold on to your hats, folks. But before we go, speaking of Supreme Court justices, it turns out that Justice Clarence Thomas has actually been hospitalized with flu-like symptoms since Friday. But he's fighting it off and he hopes to be released in the next few days. Speedy recovery, Judge Thomas. And that is the news du jour. Today, I wanted to leave you guys with the quote, "It is difficult to make someone miserable when he feels worthy of himself and claims kindred to the great God who made them. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider becoming a patron of our podcast. For $7.99 a month, you can unlock tons of perks like breaking news text messages so that you're never out of the loop. Tons of bonus episodes are already up there ready for you to binge, and a discussion board full of networking opportunities and much more. Go to www.patreon.com/sugarfree media today to become a patron. This is the best way to support our show. Our patrons make News du Jour possible. But a couple other ways to support our podcast are rate and review on whatever podcast platform you use to listen, share on your social media, you have influence, tell your friends, family, and colleagues that you love News du Jour and why you listen. You can also follow us on social media under sugarfreemedia.co on Instagram, just sugarfreemedia, all one word, on TikTok, and sugarfree_media on Twitter. We also have a weekend newsletter called Dreamers Digest that's full of dreamy content recommendations for your weekend and a life update from yours truly. Sign up today on our website, www.sugarfreemedia.co. Our music is by Joey Lavoie and Nicholas Foster. Our cover art is by Hannah Pierce Photography. Our Sugar Free Media logo is by Catherine Jezik Designs. Any twinkling or little footsteps you might hear in the background are by my dog, Rhett. He's a rescue pup and always records with me. We appreciate you listening and look forward to telling you about the news again next time on News du Jour. Broadcasting from Oklahoma.